Welcome back to the Working Thesis. Today's deep dive is Advanced Energy Industries, ticker AEIS. I'm Nova.
And I'm Onyx. This is a company explainer, not a recommendation. AEIS is a mid-cap industrial technology name, and mid-caps can move sharply both ways. The goal is simply to understand the business better.
Quick disclaimer. This is personal market commentary for education and entertainment only. Not investment advice, not a recommendation, and not a forecast. Individual company facts are discussed as facts. The thesis reads stays cautious. The simplest description is this. AEIS makes precision power conversion systems. That sounds boring, but in semiconductor fabs and AI data centers, boring power is mission critical.
It is not the consumer-facing AI layer. It is the layer underneath. Power supplies, RF power, DC power, matching networks, high-voltage systems, and control products that help expensive equipment run predictably.
The company is headquartered in Denver, has more than 10,000 employees globally, and recent revenue is around the $2 billion run rate. Its biggest exposures are semiconductor equipment and data center computing, with industrial, medical, telecom, and networking as smaller pieces.
So the mental model is precision power picks and shovels. AEIS does not make the chip, and it does not run the AI model. It helps power the tools that make chips and the systems that run high-density compute.
First, the semiconductor business. AEIS sells RF and DC power generators, plus matching networks, used in plasma etch and deposition tools. That matters because advanced chips are built through extremely controlled processes.
In plain English, if you are etching or depositing materials at leading-edge dimensions, power stability matters. Tiny instability can hurt yield. That makes this less like a commodity power brick and more like a qualified subsystem inside a very expensive tool.
The key toolmaker customers include Applied Materials and Lam Research. Those relationships are valuable because designed-in components can be sticky across tool platform lifecycles.
But that same stickiness creates concentration. If wafer fab equipment spending slows, or if major toolmakers guide lower, AEIS can feel it with a lag. Semiconductor equipment is a great end market in upcycles, but it has never been smooth.
The second story is data center power. This is why AEIS has become more interesting inside the AI infrastructure conversation. AI racks are moving toward much higher power density, and that makes power conversion more difficult.
The forward-looking product everyone watches is AEIS's high-voltage DC-to-DC conversion work, including its 80H-style platform for future 800-volt architectures. The broad idea is that as racks move from tens of kilowatts toward much higher levels, power delivery becomes a harder engineering problem.
The timing matters. The biggest impact from 800-volt architectures appears more like a 2027 to 2028 plus story, not an overnight switch. So this is a growth option layered on top of the current semi and data center business.
That is why the stock can get re-rated. The market may start valuing AEIS not only as a semiconductor capital equipment supplier, but also as an AI power supplier. That re-rating can be powerful, and also risky if timing slips.
The recent financial profile is strong. In Q1 2026, AEIS reported about $511 million of revenue, up roughly 26% year-over-year, and guided Q2 revenue around $540 million, plus or minus $20 million.
Data center computing more than doubled year-over-year in Q1, and management raised the full-year data center growth target into the mid-30% range. Semiconductor demand also improved, with backlog stretching into 2027.
Margins are a key part of the story. Non-GAAP gross margin crossed 40%, with a longer-term target around the low 40s. That matters because power hardware is not always a high-margin category. Proprietary design and mix are what make the model interesting.
Segment numbers vary by period, but the rough picture is semiconductor equipment in the mid-40% of revenue and data center computing around one-third to high 30s, with industrial, medical, telecom, and networking making up the balance.
Management matters here because AEIS is an execution business. The CEO, Steve Kelly, has a long semiconductor background, including prior leadership at Amkor Technology, Cree, Texas Instruments, and Philips Semiconductors.
The Amkor detail is useful. Semiconductor packaging and test is operationally intense, margin-sensitive, and cycle-exposed. A leader with that background is not a pure hype story CEO. The resume is more operator than promoter.
AEIS has also been expanding and diversifying its manufacturing footprint, including Mexico, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Thailand. The company has talked about managing tariff complexity and moving away from heavier China manufacturing exposure.
That does not eliminate geopolitical or tariff risk, but it shows the company is treating supply chain structure as part of the product strategy. For customers buying mission-critical power, reliability, and location matter.
Competition is concentrated but real. In semiconductor RF power, the important names include MKS Instruments, AEIS, Daihen, and Comet, with other smaller or adjacent suppliers around the edges.
The moat is not that nobody else can make power electronics. The moat is qualification, precision, customer trust, and integration into tool platforms. Once a subsystem is designed into an etch or deposition tool, switching is not casual.
MKS has broader scale and a wider portfolio. AEIS is more focused on precision power. That focus can help margins and specialization, but it also means the company is less diversified than a broader subsystem supplier.
In data center power, the field is still forming. That is both opportunity and risk. AEIS is trying to establish a position early, but future 800-volt standards, customer architectures, and competing suppliers are still evolving.
Inside the framework, AEIS sits at an interesting junction. Thesis 1 says AI remains the visible productivity and infrastructure story. AEIS touches that through semiconductor tools and data center power.
Thesis 4 says AI eventually becomes a physical constraint story. Electricity, power conversion, racks, cooling, copper, and grid infrastructure. AEIS touches that through high-density data center power and future 800-volt architectures.
That does not make the company automatically attractive at any price. It simply explains why it is worth understanding. It is one of the companies where compute meets power.
And that intersection is important. If AI infrastructure keeps scaling, the bottleneck is not only GPUs. It is also power delivery, power quality, thermal management, and the ability to build reliable systems at scale.
Now the risk side, because this is where deep dives are useful. First is valuation. When a mid-cap hardware supplier is priced for AI optionality, the market can punish even small disappointments.
Second is semiconductor cyclicality. The core semi-equipment business is tied to fab capex, and that cycle can turn. If major toolmakers slow orders, AEIS may feel the impact later.
Third is customer concentration. Applied Materials and Lam Research are important on the semi side, and a small number of hyperscale buyers can matter on the data center side. That can create lumpy revenue.
Fourth is 800-volt timing. If adoption is slower than expected, the long-term AI power story may still be real, but the revenue ramp can shift out. Add tariff complexity, supply constraints, and mid-cap volatility, and this is not a sleepy name.
The watch list is pretty clear. Start with semiconductor equipment orders and commentary from Applied Materials, Lam Research, and the broader wafer fab equipment group.
Then watch data center revenue growth. The key question is whether the strong Q1 momentum continues and whether management keeps pointing to mid-30% growth for the year.
Third, watch design win language around 800-volt or next-generation AI rack power. The exact words matter because the big story is not only current revenue, it is whether AEIS is being designed into future architectures.
Fourth, watch gross margin. If gross margin holds above 40% and trends toward the long-term target, that supports the proprietary power story. If margins roll over, it may suggest mix, tariff, or pricing pressure.
So the bottom line, AEIS is not a simple AI ticker. It is a precision power supplier with one foot in semiconductor manufacturing and one foot in AI data center power.
The strongest part of the profile is the thesis fit. Qualified semiconductor power systems, growing data center exposure, operator-led execution, and a possible 800-volt growth option later this decade.
The main caution is that the same thesis fit can create valuation risk. If expectations run ahead of timing, a mid-cap name can move sharply. So this is a company to understand with both the bull case and the bear case in view.
This episode is for educational and entertainment purposes only, not investment advice. Personal market notes only. That's the AEIS Deep Dive.